Ring of Honor, second anniversary show. We get the debut of the Pure Championship. The world title's on the line, the tag team title's on the line. A girl gets abducted and people use their genitalia as weapons. All of this and more on the Apron Bump Podcast.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started.
What is up, everybody? How the heck are you? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I am your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle. How's everybody doing today? It is a bit of a gloomy day here in Virginia. A little rainy, a little moist. Speaking of moist, got a dandy little wrestling show for you that might get you a little humid in the pants. Ring of Honor. What? Ring of Honor second anniversary show. Of course, from 2004, we got on our hands here. Most notably, we got the debut of the Pure Championship. Finally, we've been talking about it for God knows how long at this point. It's a title that still remains today. I'll give you $1 million if you can tell me who's the Pure Champion right now. But we get the debut here. The inaugural champion is crowned in a one-night, 8-person tournament. That's right. We got eight lads in here vying for this new championship, and we will crown the champion on this show. Spoiler alert, it's a pretty fucking awesome tournament. From bell to bell, this might be one of the strongest Ring of Honor shows, just from top to bottom, that I've covered so far. And we've been through 2 years of Ring of Honor. It's been very hit and miss. You know, if you've been following the timeline, and by the way, if you haven't, feel free to check it out in the archives. You can go to apronbump.com and you can go to the episodes tab and select Ring of Honor, or you can go in the description and select the link that I have there. That'll bring you to all of the chronological Ring of Honor shows that I've covered thus far, starting from the very first show all the way through 2 years up to this point. Where are we at? February 2004 for the second anniversary. But like I said, it's been very hit and miss. There's been a lot of growing pains with Ring of Honor. A lot of guys have come and gone already. Some more guys come back that have gone, but we'll get into that. But this show just felt like it had a lot of moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is like what I remember about Ring of Honor. Like this is what really just grabbed me by the happy trail and just shook me until I cried. Like this is the type of stuff. The feeling is here, ladies and gentlemen. You have Samoa Joe and Low Key just kicking the shit out of each other on this show. We got the Pure tournament is just full of talent. A lot of guys still going today. We got the tag team titles, the Briscoes versus the Backseat Boys. We got a crazy 6-man country whipping match. Carnage Crew and Special K. A lot of shenanigans, to say the least. But, yeah, this show's chock full of stuff. We get into some sexual maneuvers, of course. And me just saying that, you probably know who my guest is, but if you don't, I'll let you know. We got Matt Ritter from Creation World returning to the show. Always a good old time with my boy Matthew. You can check him out on the Smackin It Raw podcast live every Saturday night. You can also check him out on Getting Offed, which also goes live every other week, every other Sunday. Creation World is the banner in which Smackin It Raw, Getting Offed, Creation Conversations, everything is under that Creation World banner. So if you like pro wrestling, you like horror, or whores, I guess, all that nerd-ish, go check them out. I've been on Smackin It Raw a bunch of times. It's always a fun time talking the weekend wrestling, the current scuttlebutt, and what have you. So always a good time. I was just there a few weeks ago at this point, so go check it out if you haven't checked out the Smackin It Raw podcast. It's just a couple of guys and gals just getting together and just joshing around, pulling each other's puds, It is a good old time. Go check it out. All of that will be in the description below. All the social medias, the websites, the link trees, the omegals, the grinders. All of that and my grinder as well is in the description below. Apronbump.com for all my full episodes. Listen to wherever you listen to podcasts. Watch on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, jiggle my balls, slap me in the face, spit in my mouth. Do all of those things. Add Apron Bump on all the social medias: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace. What else? I think we might as well just jump right into this, huh? We got a big old show on our hands. Second anniversary. It's chock full. It's full to the brim. It's brimming with feces, and it's coming your way right now. Ring of Honor, second anniversary with myself and Matt Ritter from Croatia World, from Smackin It Raw, from Getting Off, from Croatia Conversations, from the lemonade stand down the street, from the gentleman's club around the corner, from... All right, let's get into it.
I'm not wearing underwear, and now we're here.
So you're telling me that Will Gray is the second string booty call?
Don't tell him I said that.
Okay, good thing we're not recording this because that'd be
exactly.
Very bad.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah, that'd be awful. Yeah. Awful news. That would be not very onerous. But speaking of honor, speaking of rings, speaking of Ring of Honor. What'd you think of the show, buddy? Is this your first Ring of Honor show that you've ever watched?
This is the first full-on Ring of Honor show I've ever watched. I listened to everything that you do. I've been following, so I kind of knew what was going on a little bit. Mm-hmm. You were like, 4 hours. Normally they have like this, the first show had flashbacks, so it probably won't be. No, it was 4 hours.
Well, no, like the last hour was flashbacks.
I don't feel like that was an hour. I feel like that was only like 10 minutes.
No, I checked because there was like 2 matches left and there was like over 2 hours left in the deal. And I was like, there's no way. Like, unless they're going like 60 minutes for this finals match. Well, no,
see, I checked and I remember I was going to say, I felt like we had an hour left for the finals match.
Yeah.
So.
It might have been more like 45 minutes of flashbacks, but yeah, it was a decently long show, but it's an anniversary show. I guess it's as big of a WrestleMania type show that they got, but
we got to Colt Cabana doing something, and then I turned the show off. I was like, okay, I saw all of everything that I needed. I'm good.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. He has this. It's like a jokey talk show segment, and I saw him, and I was like, maybe he'll have a funny guest, and then it's just the biter, and then I'm like, which I don't know if you even caught that much. It was Ace Steel was his guest.
Yeah.
But they did something like that on the last Ring of Honor show, and it was a waste of time. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I've seen enough. So
I'm just assuming that the clothes he wore at the end of the show for his talk show is what he wore into the courtroom when he was suing CM Punk.
Oh, was it like a T-shirt with a tie picture on it?
Yeah, except I don't think it had sleeves.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, shame we got no CM Punk Colt Cabana interactions on this show, but old Colt is injured at this point. So,
I mean, I got a lot of young CM Punk, so I was happy. Like,
oh yeah.
So I made a note before like the rest of my notes.
Please.
Watching Ring of Honor second anniversary was like when production wise, it felt like the ECW shows that we've watched, or like indie horror flick on Amazon, like. It's not what you get watching WCW, WWE, WWF, even back at this, especially with WWE back at this time. Like, it's not high production value. Mm-hmm. It's more of, because technically it is a super indie. It's more of like an indie production, It felt very much ECW 1997 in the production style.
Yeah, and a lot of the same characters from later ECW as well, which we'll touch on. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's especially like if you watch 2002 Ring of Honor, you'll see like the strides they've already made in their production. Like it used to be just like the house lights with a fucking basketball hoop in the background, and the audio was awful. And the audio is like not perfect here, but you can at least hear pretty much what everybody is saying
for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, there's indies today that have shittier audio than this. So
yeah.
But the overall theme of this show, we're crowning the first ever pure wrestling champion. Which who is the current pure champion? I meant to look this up. Is it still Wheeler Yuta?
I don't know. I mean, if it was, you'd have the belt. So if you don't know, how am I supposed to know?
It might just be catching dust in my luggage.
They don't defend the pure championship on Dynamite, and Dynamite's the only thing I watch really for the most part. So like,
right? Okay, it is Wheeler. Okay. Well, yeah, well, that's good. That's how it should be. I shouldn't know really. If I'm not watching Ring of Honor, I should not know who the pure champion is. So
correct.
That's not too shabby. But we're gonna crown the first ever champion here, and it's view of who the. Oh yeah. Well, we'll get to that. It's an 8-man tournament, right? Yeah, it's a single night 8-man tournament.
Which would make Travis happy because he's always maintained that when you do something like this, like the King of the Ring, the tournament should be the show. Everything should happen in the show. We very rarely do we get it with King of the Ring, where like the whole show was just the King of the Ring. Mm-hmm. But he was always adamant that it should be the show. And we got the pure tournament as the basis for the show. So you got to see, and I do like the idea of like, okay, now we're at the finals and we saw, not to jump to the finals, but like the stuff that has happened to people throughout the night affecting them in the matches, like selling stuff from earlier. So,
yeah, I think there were some parts where it was a little sus, but again, we'll get into the specifics. But yeah, like you said, that's kind of the running thread throughout the entire show. We start at 8, end at 1. But we got some other stuff too. We got the tag titles being defended. We got a 4-way for the world title. We got a 6-man strap match. How do you think the show is paced? Because for me, like single night tournaments can get a little like monotonous sometimes, but I feel like they had enough stuff in between to make it where it wasn't that.
I will agree with you. I will tell you, this is not my kind of show, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it felt like 4 hours for me, because if you guys listen to the Smackin It Raw podcast, you've listened to me on here, I'm more so of like the story, the drama outside of the ring. Like I enjoy good matches, but like match after match after match after match sometimes can wear me down a little bit. I need something in between. And the only thing that I got that was kind of up my alley was the stuff in the 6-man strap match. And I can't wait to talk about that.
That was your match of the night, huh?
That I wouldn't say was my match of the night. I will say for what I enjoy in professional wrestling, there was a little more drama and substance there than just like really good match after really good match after okay match after really good match, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that was some Lifetime movie shit that we got there. But man, we're just edging the audience here, tickling the balls. Let's get ready to unload over my face. But we start off the show. We got Joey Samoa here in the ring. A little pre-tape before the show. In a suit, Samoa Joe in a suit, which is a sight, works for him. And as of recording this, Samoa Joe still. Wait, have you seen Revolution?
I asked Katie last night when we got on getting off. I have not watched it. I saw clips of what Darby did with the glass plate, and I do know that Joe retained.
Okay. I didn't want to spoil.
I also know that Tony retained. So like,
yeah. It's a good little ditty. I would take a gander at the show. But Samoa Joe, champion now. Samoa Joe, champion in 2004. And he's kind of just going over because we're bringing in this new singles title. So Joe's like, man, they got to invent a new title because nobody can beat me. And he's approaching a year as champion at this point. And he's going over how he took the title from just a joke, who gives a shit championship. He's taken it overseas. He's made it a world title. All this shit. Well, I mean, what were your thoughts seeing Joe here as champion?
Joe, I mean, this is 20 years apart, roughly, right?
Yeah, almost exactly.
Joe has always been Joe. Like, I've seen Joe in TNA. I'm now seeing him in Ring of Honor. I've seen him in NXT. I've seen him on WWE TV. I've also seen him in AEW. Joe is Joe, and it fucking works, and he's fantastic. Young, old, whatever. Mm-hmm. He has that presence in everything that he does. He has that attitude. And you do really feel like in every situation. He's just someone that's going to fuck you up.
Yeah. No,
and I love him for that.
Believable. Like, he's genuine. And I was thinking, like, do I like this version in 04 or the current version? And it's like, really, it's not like that different. He's evolved with the times, but like, it's ultimately the same Joe these past 2 decades, which is awesome, to your point. But he'll be defending the title, and that's another gripe he has. He's like, oh, they have this new title, and now I got to defend it at a 4-way. Yes? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand.
No. My daughter's knocking at the door. She wants to show me something, and I told her, listen, Daddy's doing a podcast. You need to go get Mommy. She's upstairs. Show Mommy.
Right. Well, does she have thoughts on the Pure Championship and the lineage and the history?
Zoe, are you still there? Do you have any thoughts on the Pure Championship and the lineage and the history of ROH? You do? What is it?
I figured she might.
She didn't say anything after this. She just said, yeah, and that was it.
God, she's just like my cats. It's like I ask them a question and then they immediately pipe down.
Not to sidetrack, but so you have cats, right? We have a cat. It was my wife's cat before we got here. The only time, like, I've bonded with this cat. I was never really a cat person. I love Fritz. I've bonded with this cat. However, the only time this cat is affectionate is if I'm on the toilet. Then she wants to be like rubbing on my feet. Right. Other than that, she doesn't give a shit that I exist unless she's hungry. But every time I go into the bathroom, she is like there. And I'm like, dude, this is my time. This is my space.
They want to protect you because you're vulnerable and they want to protect you from evildoers.
Really?
Allegedly. I don't know. It's one of these things that people are like, it's people that get into the psychology of cats. Oh, they scratch because they're anxious. Like, would you ask them? Did you give them an interview? Like, how do you know this? But I digress. Fucking Dr. Doolittle's over here. But after that, we got a quick pre-tape with the Prophecy, which is a faction ongoing. Christopher Daniels is the leader, but he is out at this point because he got taken out by CM Punk. Yes?
So I've heard you talk about the Prophecy. I know you've had Dan Moff on, right?
So I had Monster Mac on, which was his former partner, but they're both bald and big and
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you guys talking about Moff a lot. That's why. And then BJ with More was here, which was cool. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy BJ with More.
Whitmer?
With more, like I said.
Okay.
Also, Allison Danger. Like, I've heard a lot about Allison Danger from you, and this is the first time I got to see her from the cleavage up, which is how they started.
Right.
Started this backstage interview was like, here's her boobs. Oh, and then there's her face.
That's how you get the attention. It is 2004. It is a boob country at this point.
It is.
You know, we've evolved. Maybe we're coming back with Cindy Sweeney and all that shit, but again, that's a different podcast in itself. But yeah, Prophecy's here. They want the titles. To BJ Whitmer or with more BJ.
Yeah, BJ with More.
BJ with More and Dan Moff will be in the title match later. But let's get this pure title tourney on the road here. We got a first round match. CM Punk versus John Walters.
Fuck this crowd.
Why is that? Why is that, Matthew?
Why are they booing CM Punk?
Well, you don't think they liked CM Punk? Was it the guy yelling, die at him as he comes out?
We open the show with Marilyn Manson's Disposable Teens barely being played in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You get the most sports entertainment-esque outside of the 6-man strap match thing, which is CM Punk arriving in the ring in, I'm assuming, Christopher Daniels garb, mocking Christopher Daniels. Everyone's like, oh, it's Christopher Daniels. And then, no, it's CM Punk. I fucking loved it. I'm like, this guy's great. And the crowd's just like, die, fuck you, boo. And I'm like, how do you guys hate CM Punk? I'm going to start just wearing really baggy fucking gym shorts again. Like, I was all about this. If I could grow my hair, I'd grow out whatever shitty hairstyle, like the long, stringy, greasy shit that he had.
Bleach it.
Like,
no, it's well, I would say one thing that contributes to the booze maybe is that John Walters is the hometown boy, and so we are very pro John Walters. Don't you pretend like you don't know who John Walters is.
Literally have a note. Who the fuck is John Walters? And here's the thing, I can't be bothered, right, to go and Google who the fuck John Walters is. They should have told me when I watched the show who the fuck John Walters?
Yeah, we needed an 8-minute retrospective. I agree.
We did.
I agree. Well, if you've been keeping up with the RF video tapes, you've been ordering the DVDs, you wouldn't know this. But John Walters.
I don't.
That's fine. That's fine. It's funny though, John Walters, the first time I saw him, I believe I had Mr. Warren Hayes on and we were talking about it. We were both like, John Walters, this dildo, who the fuck is this guy? But as I've been like watching these shows, I've like become kind of a John Walters fan. He's like just a very like nondescript white guy, just a tall, lanky guy who wrestles.
That's what I got.
But I think he has like a fire to him that a lot of the guys on the show don't have. He's not quite Benoit. He's like Benoit and Roddy Strong kind of blended together a little bit. But there's some similarities there. But this match with CM Punk, I thought it was good. Most of these two. Yep, you were saying?
Oh, never mind. I'm not going to say that.
No, please. No, go ahead. Shoot it.
You said he's Benoit and Roddy Strong mixed together. And I'm like, so he breaks backs, not necks?
He breaks his own neck on a workout machine.
I was talking about the German suplex.
Oh.
Not
the double murder suicide. Thought we were
No.
That was you zigged and I zagged there.
We got a promo from CM Punk though that I don't know about you, but I felt like it was what MJF is doing now.
There are a lot of similarities, yeah.
Oh, so you expected somebody else? Like it felt almost word for word like what I would hear MJF say in the same tone and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming because CM Punk was so hated, and we know MJF was a huge CM Punk fan at this time, more than likely. He talked about meeting him and everything.
Yeah.
That probably this is where he pulled a lot of what he's doing from now.
Yeah, no, even down to because Punk's catchphrase here is I'm straight edge, and that means I'm better than you. And I don't know if he actually said it on this show, but whenever he says it, it's like the same voice, the same cadence. It's like down to a T. So yeah, you're 100% right there for sure. But the match, Punk, he cuts a promo dressed as Christopher Daniels, like you said, because he took Christopher out at a month or two ago. Pepsi plunge off the top rope through a table.
That's
now
dope.
Daniels is dead. And it's like the Prophecy is the faction, and then there's also the Second City Saints, which is CM Punk, Colt Cabana, Ace Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that faction warfare up top, which we don't get any direct kind of battles here on this show, but it's right here, it's alluded to. So I'm sure there's gonna be some sort of blow off at some point.
What does Bobby the Brain Heenan have to do with all of this? Because they mentioned that Bobby got CM Punk in the tournament.
Yeah, I was very confused because Heenan has not been on any of these shows.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was excited. I'm like, that's dope as shit that somehow Bobby the Brain Heenan's like, this CM Punk guy's so good, I'm going to go do this over here after being who Heenan is.
I mean, we got Jim Cornette on the show, which is something of similar ilk.
Yeah.
Not physically here, but, he's here. His energy's here. But yeah, the lore, I guess, is that the Brain negotiated CM Punk into this tournament because CM Punk's not necessarily like when you think of pure wrestling, you don't really think of CM Punk, but okay, maybe you do, but literally everybody else doesn't. So there's a lot of these first round matches, it felt like they were all like relatively quick, but they were like pretty much sprints of matches. Like they had a lot of energy to them. They kind of got right to it, which is kind of what this one was. Walter's getting all his stuff in. He got some backstabbers, some lung blowers, the Hurricane DDT.
I have that in my notes. I was like, I'm going to be on Apron Bump. I need to write down that moves happen. And I wrote that Hurricane DDT was really cool.
That was, yeah, a little, how would you describe it? Pantomime it for me.
Pantomime the Hurricane DDT for you.
Do it on Chucky over there.
Do it on Chucky over
here. Yeah. That's good form.
Yeah, right?
Chucky's looking a little stiff over there.
Yeah.
But so are you, I guess. So
he didn't sell it at all.
Damn, fucking Will Ospreay over here. Am I right or am I wrong, fellas? But yeah, Walters hits a how's this match end? Oh, yeah, Walters rolls up CM Punk. Punk counters it into like a tiger suplex style bridge without the suplex, which I thought was a slick little pin. and gets the win kind of out of nowhere. But I thought it was a pretty smooth finish, and it was a pretty fun match. What do you think about it?
CM Punk's the best in the world, and
Noted.
should have won because who the fuck is John Walters? No, I like I said, I enjoy CM Punk. I enjoy watching him both wrestle and like you said, John Walters wasn't bad. Like you're becoming like I didn't know who the guy was.
Yeah.
I don't know 50% of every match that we watch
right
on this show. I know one half of every match on this show, like from my viewing experience as a wrestling fan for over however many years.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was cool to see other guys doing things and stuff like that. But I didn't give a fuck about John Walters. I assumed Punk would win. I would have been upset had he not.
Mm-hmm.
So started off the show good because my hometown boy, CM Punk got a win, even though the crowd hated him.
Would you have turned off the show if John Walters beat CM Punk here?
I might have turned it off and just came on and been like, so I got through one match and fuck you for making me watch this.
Right. It would just turn into a CM Punk tribute show. Which
I mean, we still had Samoa Joe, we still had AJ Styles, we still had Chris Sabin. Like we had people I know, so I probably would have hung around and been like, okay, but I would have not been in the mood that I am here today if CM Punk had lost in the first round of this tournament.
Can't blame
John Walters.
You put some respect on John. I'm broadening your horizons. Now if John Walters pops up on AEW, you can be like, I know that guy. Hurricane DDT. Boston.
Yeah. So one thing I noted, how do you feel about commentary in ROH?
Okay. First like a year and a half, 2 years. Some of the worst commentary I've ever heard in any wrestling show. I don't know if I've just gotten used to it or if they've like calmed down a little bit. I didn't particularly mind it on this show. It's very wordy. You know, there's not a lot of dead air, but they do what they can to get the stories over and to recap everything. So I didn't mind it on this show, but I don't know. What did you think about it?
My note says, not feeling commentary. The play-by-play guy sounds like a virgin.
You're talking about Gabe Sapolsky, who is Chris Lovey is his alias, but the guy that sounds like Jerry Seinfeld?
Yeah, it sounds like a virgin.
Yeah. He probably is. He probably still
like
is.
He's never seen a vagina in real life.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There weren't any women in the ring, I don't think, on this show.
I mean, Allison Danger came out to the ring at one point.
Yeah, they love, when any woman gets in the ring, they're like, oh, look at this slut and her stupid tits getting in there. Was she going to just suck everybody off? Which is
big virgin energy.
Kind of exaggerating, but not really. Just the words are different, but that's basically what they do. But yeah, no, you're that would confirm that suspicion of yours, I think. Do you think Doug Williams is a virgin?
I feel like I've heard the name Doug Williams, but I didn't know who Doug Williams was.
He's been in TNA, the British Invasion with Magnus.
Okay.
He was X Division champion. He was there for a bit. So that's probably where you've heard of him. But he's been wrestling. I mean, he retired a few years ago, I think. I don't know, maybe he came out of retirement, but he's kind of bounced around everywhere. The Indies, both here and in Europe and Japan.
I was gonna say, it's a name that I've heard, and I couldn't put a face to the name, and now I can.
Does this do anything for you?
It does a lot for me. It gets me really hard.
This is the thing he did. Whoa!
Every time I saw it, I became the hardest.
Oh, you're the hardest.
Well, no, you're the hardest here.
Oh,
I mean, I became my hardest, which still isn't as hard as your hardest. You are the hardest.
All you gotta do is become your hardest. That's what I always say.
That's what my wife tells me.
Strive to be your hardest. Nobody else's hardest. Well, Chris Sabin's here and Doug Williams.
I didn't even recognize him. Like, he's so young.
Yeah.
They said Chris Sabin. I'm looking. I'm like, is that him, or is that just like, is this like a Matt Stryker situation where there's another guy named Chris Sabin? I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, he got the long hair. The body type's kind of the same, but the style's still pretty similar. I mean, I think he just lost the X Division title a few days ago, but he's still going at it. And I was okay. So I just made this connection like a few weeks ago. I was watching something with with the softest part of the ring where Chris Sabin was there. So like the Hail Sabin thing that people chant.
Yeah.
I just made the connection that that's a reference to Hail Satan.
I mean, I realized it as soon as you said it.
I like because they're just saying "Hail Saban." I don't know why, but it's a catchy thing. But I guess it's a
Hail
reference to
Saban. Hail Saban.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can't. Hopefully, I'm not the only one. But yeah, Saban's here. You didn't realize it either, right?
I mean, I did, but what I'm saying is, as you said it, the first thing, as you said, the Hail Saban chant, the first recognition in my head was, like the Hail Satan thing. Like, that was the first thing I thought.
Maybe you just gotta take it out of the context of, but Saban's here. Doug Williams is here. Pure championship tourney match. Doug Williams, I mean, he's a British guy, so naturally you got to have a Brit in a pure wrestling title match. I should also say these aren't pure rules, quote unquote. So the pure rules are there's 3 rope breaks. Once you use them, you can't use them anymore. No closed fists and a 20 count out of the ring. But I guess that's just the title match. That's pure rules, which I was kind of confused during this whole thing. But
you think if you were doing a tournament for the first champion of the title, then you use the rules in the tournament that you're going to use for the person that wins the title to have the purest of the pure.
Right. So now it's just semi-pure.
Yeah.
It's like softcore porn. Like it's like kind of pure, but not really.
I was thinking it was like a prostitute that's born again.
Oh, okay. Because I guess it's too much to absolve.
Yeah. Herpes.
Well, speaking of herpes, Doug Williams. What'd you think? All right, so Doug Williams, he puts Saban's face into his balls. They're chain wrestling. They're grappling. Saban's got his head in between Doug's legs, and then Doug does like a pile driver from a seated position. I thought that was pretty nifty. That was my only takeaway here.
I was impressed with Doug Williams. Again, a name that I've heard, but wasn't familiar with his work. I knew Chris Sabin. This is, again, a young Chris Sabin, but like, I can appreciate good wrestling. And like you said, it was a lot of chain wrestling. He did some cool shit. Like, I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen Doug Williams somewhere else or on a slightly bigger stage. Like you said, TNA, but I wasn't watching TNA at that point. I'm just vaguely familiar with stuff. So like, again, I hear names and things and I've seen clips, but I've never seen anything of Doug Williams. I'm kind of surprised he didn't make it a little farther.
Yeah, no, he's like really solid. I guess just not the flashiest guy, like not the best talker, I guess.
Timothy Thatcher got to NXT.
Yeah.
He's like British Timothy Thatcher.
Right. I think if Doug Williams came along like 10 years later, he might have had more success. But this here, like mid 2000s, like the British wrestling scene wasn't really a thing. Like it was very like foreign to everybody outside of Europe.
But you talk about progress.
Well, that's the thing. So he comes around in Progress like 10 years after this. By the way, looks the exact same. And has a little bit of a run there, but that's kind of like his retirement tour deal. So that's like towards the end of his run.
It's I got 2 things left to become the hardest
cycle
Grand Slam champion.
Yeah.
It's a goal of mine.
Yeah.
The reason I'm watching ROH today, not because I'm interested in ROH, it's because my goal is to become the hardest Grand Slam champion and have covered one of every show on this channel. And WCW, which I'm avoiding at all costs because you're still in the worst part of WCW and I've already lived through it once.
It's getting better.
You get to see what I love, which is DDP and the growth of DDP. So I will give you that. But also, I need to watch a full British Progress show. I told you, I'll do a double show. I don't give a shit. I will do, listen, I'll put on a 60-minute Broadway for you, all right? I'll do a double. I need this championship. I'll do whatever it takes, Kyle.
Yeah.
And Katie is very upset that I'm ahead of her in this goal because she's now tried to take it from me.
So you'll watch 6 hours worth of Progress?
I will, for you, to win this title.
I think it's you. I think Charlie's the only one in contention other than you. I think he's just missing WCW. So I'll keep him locked in the basement until you get it.
Appreciate that.
Anything for you, buddy. Speaking of getting locked in a basement, Saban's locked in the basement of Doug Williams' grasps as he wrestles him
balls
by his dick and balls. more on that later with Doug Williams. But in this match, he kind of just dominates Sabin, like in the chain wrestling department. But then Sabin gets some distance, starts hitting his like springboard drop kicks and all the high flying shit. But during the match, Doug is like working on the neck of Sabin. So there's one point where Sabin like goes for a suplex, but he can't do it. So he like calls an audible and does like a swinging neck breaker instead, which I thought was a pretty cool bit of psychology. Sabin hits a springboard DDT for a 2 count, the cradle shock for a 2 count. But then ultimately, Doug Williams hits the Chaos Theory German suplex for the win, which you've probably seen Chad Gable do. And I would say, if anything you need to know about Doug Williams, is he's the one, I believe he invented it. I know he did it before Chad Gable for sure, but that's pretty much where it originates. So, you've experienced him secondhand through Shorty G. So
Shorty G
Unit. But yeah. Any other thoughts on this little ditty?
No, like I said, it was a good match. It was fun. It's nice seeing a young Chris Sabin, learning who Doug Williams is. Doug's great. We're gonna see him again. But at this point, I didn't really expect Chris to move on, but I also didn't I was vaguely familiar. I didn't know who was gonna win, so that was kind of cool about this. In my head, CM Punk was beating the nobody that he wrestled. The next match, when you see how I described who's in the next match, you'll see how I kind of felt. I knew where it was going to go. This one, I had no idea. It was kind of up in the air for me because it's, again, still a very young Chris Sabin. And then a guy that I've heard of but never actually seen it. I wasn't sure how big he was here.
Right. Yeah, Sabin had only been wrestling here for probably like 2 years. So he's very new.
They mentioned something like this is the first big thing for him.
Yeah, because in Ring of Honor, he's been kind of a jobber, but he got his first win, maybe his first big win, at least at the last show. So he's got some momentum behind him. So I thought he might be a contender, but I guess not. Well, we got Matt Striker. We got Josh Daniels, 2 guys, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
That's okay. Because I wrote down Matt Striker versus American Lance Storm.
Oh, okay. I like that. Are we sure he's American, though?
I think so.
Josh Daniels. That sounds very
British.
Very just generic. Let's see if he even comes up on Google. Josh Daniels. Nope. Musician. Wrestler. Let's see. He's an actor is how he's described. So that's not a good sign.
American professional wrestler. Born in 1980. Joshua Daniels.
Syracuse, New York. Yeah.
American Lance Storm.
You're not wrong. It seems like not to make a Chris Benoit comparison again, but it seems like everybody's trying to be Chris Benoit, with the long tights and the chops and the suplexes. It just seems like everybody's going for that style, the short hair, they all kind of look the same.
I mean, this is the best and worst time to do it, depending on when this show fell.
I would say there's probably a worse time. I would say right now is probably a worse time.
Yeah.
But I digress. Well, we got Matt Striker. Were you expecting the other Matt Striker?
What do you mean? Listen, this guy, I don't remember him looking like this, but he really taught, American Lance Storm a lesson. He took him to school.
What else?
Love the unibrow and his finisher, the unibrow lock that he won with.
It's the Striker lock.
It's the unibrow lock. It's in my notes. I wrote it right there. I wouldn't write down something that wasn't true, Kyle.
You want to know something funny though? That's not the name of his submission, but his Death Valley driver that he does is called the Brow. So that is his character. I have a unibrow. I am not a teacher. Is Matt Striker.
I'm slightly disappointed that I listen to everything you do because I have heard you repeatedly say over and over again, not the Matt Striker, not the teacher. So I knew what I was getting into when he came in. I much rather would have gone in and been like, that's not fucking, who the fuck is this guy?
I've had people come on, watched the show and still thought it was that Matt Striker, which he used to have shorter hair. So he used to look a little similar, but, Matt Striker did one maneuver in this match that I have a clip of. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Knows what's at stake here tonight. He's going to be extra aggressive.
Thoughts?
Effective. erotic.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of skill to do a crossbody with just your crotch and take someone out. You have the hip strength required to thrust another man to the ground with just the crotchal region.
Right. I mean, here, let's see here. Let's see if I can pinpoint. Boom.
Right there. You see how he right there at the end, the hump, right? Yep, right there. And
here.
2
more,
3.
Oh,
and the thrust right there, right there.
It is. That's all in the thrust
across his chin with the thrust. Devastating maneuver.
Right. Now the question is, do we think he was erect when he executed this flying cock? Let's see if we can pinpoint.
I don't know. And if you guys are looking, you can see what I mean when I say he's American Lance Storm, as he's getting what I'm going to call the Cockstain from Matt Striker.
It's he seems maybe half chubbed. I need like one of the yellow what do you call them?
A Telestrator.
The Telestrator, yeah. Maybe I'll add that in post.
All right.
But yeah, so the flying cock was not able to get the victory, but I thought it was a very innovative maneuver. In an era of very innovative moves in Ring of Honor, so gotta love it.
Listen, if you can't defeat your opponent with a move, at least embarrass him and take him off his game. And there's no better way to embarrass a straight white male in 2004 than rubbing your cock across his face in front of a crowd of 20 people.
Yeah. Do we think Matt Striker's packing?
I do not.
It's probably pretty.
Unibrow does not give big dick. Maybe. I guess if you are confident enough to rock a unibrow, maybe you've got something to maybe you don't have to compensate for the unibrow. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you do have a big dick, because it's like, my dick's so big I can just not shave in between my eyebrows.
That's gonna be a clip that I use. Just that the sound bite of you, just out of context. But yeah, maybe he's a eunuch. Also, unibrow, eunuch. Is eunuch no balls or no dick?
I believe it's no balls. Or actually, no, it's no genitals. Hold on.
Yeah, let's do the research.
I'm pretty sure it's no genitals.
We don't want to just be spewing nonsense on here. Open up in his bookmarks.
I don't even know how to spell eunuch. Oh, there it is. It's EUNUCH. A man who has been castrated, especially one employed to guard the women's living areas in an Asian court. So castrated means everything's gone.
And Asian. Man, that's unfortunate. Well,
remove the testicles of a male. So maybe it is just the nuts. But yeah, no, he's been castrated.
That's good to know. So at least he didn't get his balls hit, Josh Daniels. But other than that, we got some pretty good wrestling here. It was, pretty standard chain wrestling, some striking. It was actually more strike heavy than I thought it would be. And then the unibrow lock, which ultimately...
Wait, hold on. You thought that a match with the guy whose name is Matt Striker wasn't going to be strike heavy? Is this the same thing as Hail Sabin in the Hail Satan? Like, you just didn't put it together?
Wow. Yeah, it's in his name. How did I not even... But the thing is, it's spelled with a Y. So...
Why does he hit so much? Because his name is Striker.
All right. Well, Matt Striker gets the win, and we're on. We're moving on. To somebody you may know, a guy, a fella you may have heard of,
Jimmy Rave, huge
Jimmy,
fan.
big fan of Raves and Jimmys, and AJ Styles. We got AJ versus Jimmy Rave. So there's actually been a pretty long build to this, even though it's just another first round tournament match. This is kind of like a teacher versus student deal here, where Jimmy's like the protege of AJ Styles. He's
Rave. The Jordan Devlin to AJ Styles Finn Balor.
Oh, wow. You're using his government name, Jordan Devlin. This guy knows independent wrestling. Look at this guy. He watches one Ring of Honor show and he uses, his dead name. But
I watched NXT UK.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess Doug Williams wasn't there. That's surprising.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, Jimmy is a jobber here. He's never won a match, I don't think. He's just gotten his ass kicked for months. And every match that he's in, and every time he loses a match, he gets berated backstage by AJ Styles. Like, like Jimmy will be in a match and his opponent will like hurt his neck, but then Jimmy won't go after the neck because he doesn't want to because he's a good guy. And then AJ's like,
Okay.
what the hell? Wow, go attack the neck. You gotta break his neck. AJ is. So now we're here, hopefully for AJ to steer Jimmy in the right direction, which I would say maybe we get a little sense of that. Yes.
So again, I've realized something. I know these people because I listen to you talk about these people. You were the only person that I know, because like Doug Williams, it was this show. You listen, you talk about him. Jimmy Rave is a name that I've heard, and I was trying to think where the fuck it was here. It was the Apron Bump. Listen, not only is the Apron Bump entertaining, but it is educational, because now I see Jimmy Rave and I'm like, this is the guy that Kyle talks about. Rarely. But I've heard the name before, and now and it makes sense because of what happens in this match, right? What you were talking about with the neck and the issue that AJ has with Jimmy, now protege versus teacher, and Jimmy does go for the knee, and he hurts AJ. AJ hurts his knee. Jimmy goes for the knee, and then as opposed to berating him after, he's like, "No, you did what I've been telling you to do. Good job, kid. I'm proud of you. You finally got that killer instinct."
There you go. I mean, you laid it out perfect. Yeah, AJ did the springboard reverse DDT that he always does, but tweaks his knee. And then Jimmy's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to." But then he drop kicks his knee and then goes for this really shitty ankle lock kind of deal. But it was like he was hugging his calf and bending over. Like, I guess he's just trying to make it a little different. But
no, listen, it was the conflict, right? Like we talked about it. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to hurt people or go after their injuries. So after he did it and he made that conscious decision, he had to hug AJ, and he was holding him. He's like, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you." Which is why he didn't get the win from it. It wasn't a submission. It was him hugging it and trying to make. I'm surprised he didn't kiss it and make it better.
See, you're just seeing all of these psychology-based things that I'm missing, which is why I'm glad to have you here to really steer me straight.
Trust me, the last place I'm steering you is straight.
Here, I'm straight as the arrow. A curved arrow. But
broken arrow.
That's the same. Well, AJ, by the way, do you happen to remember Michael McGillicuddy and his McGillicutter?
Yes. So I remember Michael McGillicuddy. I do remember the McGillicutter. I was a huge Curtis Axel fan, maybe the only one. You could not have convinced me that Curtis Axel was not going to be the next John Cena and or Randy Orton, and I was very wrong about that.
Just a bit. I think Michael McGillicuddy had more steam, but I bring that up because AJ does the McGillicutter, and I didn't realize till I just read it here that I just typed McGillicutter as if that's like what everybody knows this move as. It's like I don't even know. It's the only way I could describe it. It's like a neck breaker, but backwards. A spinning version of it. But AJ.
I've also always wondered if Michael McGillicuddy was in some way, shape, or form related to Beulah McGillicuddy.
Do they spell it the same way?
That is a good question.
Let's see here.
That's a very good question.
Michael McGillicuddy. Michael. How do you spell McGillicuddy? It's not even a real word. And Beulah related. Let's see if anything comes up. What is the name?
He spells it McGillicutty. And then Beulah should be a lot easier to find.
Yeah.
I think as soon as I type in Beulah M.
She's on your hard drive. So
also spelled McGillicutty.
Wow, we just cracked the code. This is what everybody's been wondering.
Michael McGillicuddy is the illegitimate child of Tommy Dreamer and Beulah.
I like that. This all makes sense because B Team, right? Tommy was an ECW, which was like kind of the B Squad, maybe. Huh?
Hold on.
He's taking his pants off for anybody listening.
I'm not wearing underwear, so
that's a big old cock you got there.
That was what, 1997? Tommy Dreamer when that happened? We were watching 97, 96?
96, 95, maybe. Do you have the pile
All right.
driver?
No, but
Uh-oh.
when we look at 1996 Tommy Dreamer, and then we look at a picture of Michael McGillicuddy, you'll see that they are father and son.
Right. I could see it.
Because now I got to pull up Curtis Axel.
So he's not Mr. Perfect's son.
No, he's not, because he looks nothing like him.
Yeah, they wear different
Mr. Perfect
tights.
had no idea.
They have different hair colors. Yeah. This is starting to make more sense the more I think about it.
So, yeah, no, look it up. Look up Tommy Dreamer and Curtis Axel, put them side by side.
I'll put it here.
You will see the resemblance.
Boom. I can see it. Maybe I'll ask. I'll throw it out on X. Hey, Tommy, is this your kid? And he'll answer probably. He's got nothing else going on. Well, I'll tell you who is not Tommy Dreamer's kid is AJ Styles. Because he wins this match with a discus lariat, which I thought was huh? What's up?
He's not Tommy's kid because he wins the match. That's the reason why.
Yes, because he knows how to pin somebody for 3 seconds.
Fair. I'll give you that.
So yeah, discus lariat for the win, which I thought was a unique finish for AJ. But I saw this and I was like, oh, he's probably moving on to the finals because he's probably saving his Styles clash for a later match. But yeah, AJ wins, and then we get a little backstage segment between the two where Rave, like you said, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you," and AJ's like, "Oh yeah, dude, it's all good. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. Yeah, I'm AJ Styles." So, thoughts?
Again, I enjoyed it for what it was. I do like the beat of, because the injured knee thing. Another reason why I thought the main event was going to go a different way, because it's a theme in another match of this tournament as well. And I was putting things together that apparently maybe I wasn't so, like, I was finding puzzle pieces. I'm like, oh, this fits and this is interesting. And I was doing that stupid thing wrestling fans do where I was trying to predict how the show was going to go before it ended instead of just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like a jackass.
Uh-huh.
So that's on me.
It happens.
We'll talk about it as we go. What the fuck was this next segment, by the way?
All right. Well, let me
I don't know who any of these people are. You've got Great Value Young Bucks, and then I have was this Great Value LAX? Like, who the fuck was out here? And what was this?
I want to ask you, where does Jerk Jackson land in worst wrestling names of all time?
Jerk Jackson is, I mean, that feels like Jerk Jackson is what would happen if Billy Gunn and Road Dogg existed in this time as the New Age Outlaws and they wanted to make fun of the Young Bucks.
Is he the third Buck?
He could be the third Buck, Jerk Jackson.
Wow. We're just putting together all these family trees here. And it's just, like you said, we live to educate. Mathematics
and Nickelback.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Young Bucks. I see what you're doing. Because there's no Nickelback here. This is a period where we still don't like Nickelback. Not like,
but we love Twisted Sister. The coolest part about this was the fact that there was an ass beating to a fucking soundtrack, and it was Twisted Sister.
Yeah. It's okay. So we got Scott Clark and Jerk Jackson taking on the team of Dunn and Marcos.
I wrote that down. Dunn and Marcos look like Great Value Young Bucks.
Dunn and Marcos?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. So Dunn and Marcos are called the Ring Crew Express because they're the guys who put together the ring. They have been jobbers for like the first few years, but they've gotten a few wins recently. So they're like starting to build momentum as a tag team. And the other team, they've never appeared, and I don't think they appear after this. So, but the other Ring Crew tag team, the Outcast Killers with a Z, come out yeah.
I didn't catch the name, so I just put them down as Tex-Mex because they felt like LAX light.
So it's I didn't note their names. I forget. It's Tortuga, Omen Tortuga, and somebody else, but it doesn't matter. Tortuga. They come out here. Tortuga, the Turtle Man, comes out, it's whatever. They just brawl, and then Dunn and Marcos, like I said, they've been jobbers, they've been bullied, and they're not going to take it anymore, which we get. But so they kick the shit out of them. So we're not gonna take it. But Twisted Sisters is the band. I wasn't sure what the band was called.
Twisted Sister, I got you.
Hilarious. They just gory bombs and assisted sliced bread. Some like shoulder, like he's playing chicken with his partner. Then he throws him on with a senton. It was pretty. I was sports entertained by this. Is what I'll say. It wasn't a wrestling match, but it was something. And he likes turtles, so it's really all you need to know. Hey, do you think Jim Cornette likes turtles?
I think he likes Backseat Boys, especially if they're back there with his wife. So I've always wondered this, and I don't know how I've never asked you, because I frequently I'll listen to a show and I'll be like, hey, so blah, 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 blah. I wasn't sure if the Backseat Boys was an actual tag team name, or if it was just something that you had dubbed these guys as like a joke or something.
Nope.
And then Jim Cornette's talking about them, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is an insult because it's Jim Cornette, you know how he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see them actually later in the show, and they are actually the Backseat Boys.
So you think Backseats is an insult? Were you fucking Rosa Parks?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, like the back seats, you sit in the back of the bus. You're the cool kids, right? At least that's how it was for my school. Maybe we're different. You know, you're like 30 years older than me, so I wouldn't. Maybe we're different generations.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's bald. So Jim Cornette's here, and he's not here. It's like a pre-tape, whatever the hell, because he's currently the manager of the Briscoes. And he's basically running down how the Briscoes are going to beat the Backseat Boys later tonight. But also at the next show, Samoa Joe and Jay Briscoe are going to have a cage match. So he's building to that a little bit.
I love how he said, I manipulated the contract so that if they escape the cage, they win. As if that's not like, I get like maybe other places it's not a thing. And the pure idea, the Jim Cornette, this is wrestling idea of a cage match is the cage is supposed to keep people in. And if you climb out, you lose, you don't win, because the whole point of the cage is to keep people in. But like, we've been doing cage matches where you escape to win for probably a fucking decade now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I manipulated it. So that's like, no, you did not invent this shit. You did not manipulate anything. Like, it is what it is.
Well, I would say in Ring of Honor, I know there's been one cage match, maybe two, but usually the cage in Ring of Honor is just to be a platform for people to jump off of. So that's never been a rule before. So I guess that would go into, this is the first time in Ring of Honor that's been a rule, I guess. But you bring that up, which brings up a good point. The HR department, the contract division in Ring of Honor, like you got Jim Cornette manipulating stuff. You got Bobby Heenan factoring in people that weren't supposed to be in tournaments. Like somebody's got
He's not even in the company.
Like, what are we hacking into the mainframe, sneaking into the office, doctoring contracts? Like, we need to get things under control. But I guess there is a pedophile running everything, so maybe that's
the best part about this was the fact that Jim Cornette kept talking, and they're like, "Okay, we've had enough," and cut him off mid-sentence, and just moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, we're done with you, Jim. We're done.
Yep,
we got it. You got your racket, all that stuff. Well, we got your match of the night up next. It is a country whipping match, a 6-man tornado tag team country whipping match. The Carnage Crew versus Special K. We got the Carnage Crew, of course, DeVito, Loke, Just Incredible. Still waiting on my book. Against Special K, Dixie, Hydro, and Izzy. What thoughts? Lay it on me.
I have a lot of thoughts here. So, one, Special K has a really fun intro.
How's it go?
Like, they're just the entrance, the energy. It's very Public Enemy-esque in that way of like, it gets the crowd into it. There's lights and dancing, and it's fun.
Yeah.
I also am completely down to be a victim of hard style, which I thought was something that you did, not them, but okay. So DeVito's daughter was doing angel dust. Is that what is that how I got? Is that
So here's just
both literally and figure? Well, I guess literally in two senses. Like she was smoking angel dust and doing angel dust. The wrestler,
right? Well, that's actually very poignant. I think that's a little bit up in the air, but that's kind of why we're here. So, Carnage Crew, they wear jeans, they wear t-shirts, they go to work, they put together their lunch pail, they hit their wives, they fuck their mistresses, just blue collar stuff. Whereas Special K are like the silver spoon kids who take their parents' money, they buy drugs, they buy cars, they, all this stuff. They have all these whores with them. It's a quote from commentary. And so you got the natural clash, including that. Well, so the whole thing here is that these rave kids have infected DeVito's daughter, because before Special K came into the picture, DeVito's daughter was on the straight and narrow. She was, how she was being raised as DeVito wanted her to be raised. But then this rave culture came into the picture, and now all of a sudden his daughter is going to rave. She's doing God, who knows what
angel
else.
Dust.
Angel dust, PCP, E, X, Z, all of these stuff.
Kids, this was before Molly was a thing. So like,
right. So DeVito is naturally pissed that his daughter has adopted this lifestyle, and he blames Special K, as does Loke and Just Incredible and everybody part of this Carnage Crew faction. So, and in the wrestling realm of things, Special K always comes out on top. Like Carnage Crew is, for whatever reason, whether it's the numbers game, outside interference, or what happens in this match, Carnage Crew always loses, and they're getting frustrated. And so that's why we're here. That's why we're, it's a country whipping match. It's a brawl. It's a street fight. There's blood. There's semen. It's just all over the place. And so the match ends because Angel Dust comes out, who's not in the match, but he's a part of Special K. He's got a little girl with him. Well, little girl, I don't know. How old would you say she is? Maybe like 16?
Yeah. I mean, definitely not off Gabe Sapolsky's radar.
Yes. Well, it's not him. It's the other one. Rob Feinstein. Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe Gabe too. But allegedly.
They do it in pairs. We've learned that. Like Vince had an accomplice. Scott D'Amore had an accomplice. Like they don't I've always said, in wrestling, you don't do fucked up shit unless you have someone else to take half the heat.
Right. That's actually a really good point. But Angel Dust has DeVito's daughter held hostage, which causes DeVito and Just Incredible to sprint backstage to go save her or whatever, which leaves Loke in the ring, bloody, beaten, and Special K is able to gang up on Loke, Phoenix Splash, pile driver off the apron through a table, roll him back in the ring, and pin HC Loke for the win. So Special K gets another win, and DeVito's daughter is abducted and doing angel dust, etc.
In more ways than one. Why wouldn't commentary say who? So like they're like, no, that we can't say who that is. Like when Angel Dust showed up and he had DeVito's daughter, they like purposely refused to say that it was DeVito's daughter, and I thought it was weird. Even though DeVito and Justin had already run off after them.
Maybe they weren't sure. Maybe they didn't get a good look. The camera resolution's a little sus at this point. Maybe they didn't catch it. Maybe they were looking away. Maybe they're looking at their phones. Don't know. But it's pretty much confirmed, because after the match, it cuts to like a pre-tape with Special K backstage. And Dixie says that Angel Dust is taking care of another DeVito, which what does taking care of mean? Probably best not to speculate. But yeah.
Not at her age.
Yeah. The match was fun, huh?
Yeah. Well, again, I liken Special K's entrance to Public Enemies or Public Enemy, and it was very much one of those kind of hardcore, all over the place, just spot after spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to turn your brain off and just want to watch people fly around, go through shit, get hit with shit, and bleed, like this is it, right? Yeah. And with a match with a card with a lot of wrestling matches, it's a nice breakup of like wrestling after wrestling after wrestling, and then Carnage. because Carnage Crew.
There it is. Just as advertised. But yeah, these are probably like some of the stronger characters in Ring of Honor at this point. Because like you said earlier, it's a lot of wrestling, just for wrestling's sake a lot of times, it feels like. But there's like a good story here. And, well, there's a story here. And there's like two very like distinct kind of camps. And you can understand what's going on. So I enjoyed it. It was a good way to break up the monotony of the tournament and all that stuff. So
outside of DeVito's Daughter's Age, which I was not aware of, that aside, the kind of storytelling that they're doing here is this is the stuff that I get into wrestling for. Like, you abducted my daughter and you got her on drugs and now I'm gonna beat your ass. Like, that's my shit. That Jerry Springer shit is what makes me want to watch wrestling.
It's like that South Park episode where they're making fun of WWE. Have you seen that?
Oh, dude, I love it.
It's like, you got my daughter pregnant or whatever the fuck. I don't remember. But yeah, it's
Cartman comes out dressed like a girl. Yeah.
It's of that vein for sure. So and we're building, I guess the next show, there's going to be a scramble cage match where it's Carnage Crew versus Special K. So we're building to that as well. So that'll be something. That'll be a thing that happens for sure.
Yep.
Well, we got GMC in the ring, Gary Michael Capetta, which, are you familiar with him at all? He's a former WCW ring announcer. He's in this corner. We got Ric Flair. You probably, if you heard the voice.
Yeah, no. So until like, I want to say maybe 10 years ago when everyone kind of started making a big deal about ring announcers, I never really like, when Howard Finkel was doing his thing in WWF, outside of Michael Buffer, because Michael Buffer is fucking Michael Buffer, right? Like, I never paid a lot of attention to the ring announcers and who they were. And then like Lillian Garcia was a thing and she was singing the national anthem. And then Howard Finkel would get his flowers later and stuff. And then like we started putting more emphasis on how well the ring announcers do their job, I feel, within like the last 10 or 15 years. And that's when I sort of started paying a little more attention to what was going on with them.
Right. Well, Gary Michael Capetta's here. He's like the general manager, I guess you would call it, the authority figure in Ring of Honor at this point. And he calls out Julius Smokes because he wants to know where Homicide is. And you're familiar with Homicide, yes? LAX.
I'm familiar with Homicide. I am from Chicago. It's not foreign to me.
Is he from Chicago?
No, he's not. The wrestler Homicide. Yes, I also know him.
Okay.
Yes, very familiar. Yeah, no, he was in LAX, and he showed up, I think, for an episode of AEW. Like, he's done some shit.
Yeah. Well, we're in like the midst of his big singles run here in Ring of Honor, but at the last show, the show ended with Homicide leaving, and he's like, I'm leaving Ring of Honor, or like, I'm taking a break from Ring of Honor, and nobody knows where he is. So Gary Capetta calls out Julius Smokes, who is one of Homicide's friends, and he comes out here to cut a promo, and I'm just so fucking annoyed with Julius Smokes. I mean, he's just so fucking annoying, dude.
I looked at him and I'm like, all right, but I didn't understand a word that he said. I don't know if it was the audio or if it was just like the way that he talks.
The Rockwilder 2000 Chess is coming. Can you feel it? Oh, yeah!
It very much like, where's Homicide? And then he kind of went into like almost an Ultimate Warrior-esque like ramble of shit that had nothing to do with Homicide. I heard him at one point say, I don't know where Homicide is. And then he just kept going. And it's like, bro, you answered the question. What is the rest of this?
If you don't know where Homicide is, why are we even doing this? Yeah. So, but he's building. So there's a Rottweilers faction, which is another faction. It's Julius, it's Homicide. Slugger is another guy. Yes.
Are they going to feud with the Pitbulls?
That's something. Are the Pitbulls still around at this point? Is the question. I don't know if they are. I don't know if both of them are. I don't think both of them are. I think one of them might. Well, no, one of them still is. But
I need the Pitbulls versus the Rottweilers with the Junkyard Dog as a special guest referee.
There's a couple different Pitbulls teams out there.
And then the winners can take on the Wolf Dogs for the NXT Tag Team Champions.
And Michael Vick can referee. So we got Whoa, come on. Whoa. Football. So yeah, that's really the segment. It was a waste of time. But we got the semifinals of the Pure Wrestling Championship. underway here. We got CM Punk versus Doug Williams. Yes.
So I looked at my notes for this, and I'm mad I didn't put it earlier. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention to the first Doug Williams match as much as I paid attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of like I said, whatever the fuck that dude was American Landstorm. Like, I know you said his name, and apparently he's
Josh Daniels.
Yeah. Anyway, not important. Doug Williams is British Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I think Ridge Holland is British Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Yeah, but I could see
the
where you're coming
look
from.
of Brock Lesnar at this point, because in 2004, he might have been the next big thing, but like early on when you looked at him in like FCW or the other one, Ohio Valley Wrestling,
OVW, yeah.
OVW. You know, he had almost the shaved head,
Mm-hmm.
just the black trunks. He was just a big cock strong boy, right?
Right, cock.
Doug Williams looked like a big cock strong boy here compared to the other people that he wrestled in the ring.
Yeah, no, facially I could definitely see it. Just very like veiny and sweaty, red. I could see the similarities for sure. But I do got a question for you. So Doug comes out. We might need to bring out the Telestrator again because the bell rings. Doug Williams does this.
First round against Doug Williams, who defeated Chris Sabin with the Chaos Theory, and Williams trying to start out against Doug Williams.
So a flying missionary of sorts.
Okay, so real quick, she's gonna hate me for saying this. I've been trying to get my wife to do this with me for years. We just cannot. I'm not. She would be CM Punk. I would be Doug Williams, clearly,
right?
And she can't hold me up the way CM Punk holds up Doug Williams. But no, this is this is how I'd like to finish.
I mean, is this Amazon position? This seems like something entirely different to me.
I feel like he was trying to suplex CM Punk with his legs, but CM Punk, being the greatest in the world, knew the counter is to drop to your knees and stick your dick directly in his ass as he bridges.
Okay. Yeah, because you can kind of see here. So Doug, so Punk here sees him, right? He sees the he's gonna throw his asshole at him. So he's got to combat
leg throw suplex is coming, right?
Right.
And counter the knees.
What do you think Doug is thinking at this point right here?
He's like, oh shit, I fucked up.
Do you think his cock is in his ass at this point?
Listen, they don't call him Chick Magnet Punk for a reason. It's not there. It's hard and it's rubbing on the outside. And he knows what's coming. He's like, uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And then we move on a little bit. Oh, and then he's bridging with his neck. So he's obviously... He knows it's in there and he has to get out of it. So he's trying to bridge out of it.
Counter to the knees. Yeah.
Right.
He's trying to he doesn't have the same hip force power that Matt Stryker has.
Clearly.
So he's got the legs wrapped around. He tries to thrust his hips to pull Punk over. But again, Punk, being the best in the world, dropped to his knees, slid that dick right up his ass. And now he's in a prone position. He can't go. Like, yeah. You see how stiff he is, right?
Yeah. That's
what happens when, the best dick in the world enters your asshole. You go rigid. You go hard.
Branding. That's branding.
Is this hard style?
Is that
what that is? Is that hard style?
I don't know what is if that's not hard style. But very interesting strategery from Doug Williams out the gate.
Can't wait for Telestrator when I watch this back.
Williams, he fights out of it. He gets out of that missionary lock, whatever we want to call it. And look, we got the two ends of the spectrum here. We got CM Punk, who is like the quote unquote unpure kind of wrestler in terms of like his style, but like in personality, I guess he's the most pure. Maybe that. Wait a minute. Is he in the pure division because he's straight edge and he's so pure?
Yes, that's what I got. Like he is the purest of the pure.
Okay. This all makes sense. But then Doug Williams is pure from a wrestling standpoint. So he's able to kind of dominate a little bit with the chain wrestling. CM Punk even runs away at some point, which prompts a CM Pussy chant, which is fun. Maybe you didn't think so, but then we got
CM gets pussy is what I heard them chanting. CM gets pussy.
I don't think so.
CM gets pussy. That's what I heard.
I heard fuck you, die. at CM Punk. And by the way, this CM Punk's coming out for his entrance. And he copes him to the camera. He's like, the next person that touches me is getting knocked the fuck out. I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
We'd learn later in his career that that's not.
It's very
really true.
Very, yeah.
He doesn't have that knockout power.
No. Well, Doug goes for the Chaos Theory, which Punk counters into a headlock takeover, which I thought was pretty nifty. But most of this match is CM Punk using like the kind of more traditional, like, I guess, heelish tendencies, like escaping the ring to avoid moves and putting his shin in Doug's throat, using the ropes as leverage. But, and that's able to kind of, I guess, lead to the victory for old Punker here because.
Well, he was targeting Doug's knee because at some point
Yes.
Doug hurt the knee, right?
Right.
Which is important because if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, AJ Styles also has a hurt knee. And that may or may not come, depending on if AJ Styles can overcome the unibrow lock and the Cockstain.
Right.
We may see this later on tonight. So Punk is already targeting a knee. And again, I told you I was like piecing puzzle. I'm like, oh, well, AJ has a bad knee. And CM Punk versus AJ, that'd be an amazing main event. And then CM Punk can target the knee, and then he can win. And CM Punk first ever pure champion, because I don't know fucking ROH title history. I don't know who the first pure champion was.
I didn't either. Yeah, no, it was very.
Now I do.
Now we do. But before we get, so yes, like you said, glad you brought that up because Punk targets the knee of Doug throughout this entire match using dubious means to do it at times, but he does. And this comes into play when Doug hits the Chaos Theory German, but he can't capitalize because his knee's hurt. So naturally, Doug. Any thoughts on this, Dwayne? You got thoughts on Doug Williams? Just throw my asshole into my microphone. Thank you.
I heard him say something about crackhead Karens and meth head Marys.
Yeah, he's a loose cannon. But so Doug Williams goes for a knee drop off the top rope, but he misses. And then Punk, because obviously that destroys the knee of Doug. And then Punk attacks the knee, puts Doug in a tree of woe, chops the knee, throws chops at Doug's knee, gives him a face wash to the knee, a knee wash, I guess. And then the finish, which I really enjoyed the finish. So Doug is able to fight back from this, hits the Chaos Theory again, but Doug can't hold the bridge because of the knee. So he just like falls, and then Punk puts his shoulder up. So he pins Doug while in the bridge, kind of. So Punk gets the win, like a cheeky victory out of this. So I enjoyed it.
Best in the world.
He's a genius, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Your boy's moving on. But yeah, Doug Williams, he's a good bloke. I mean, he's always the same. No matter what era of Doug Williams you watch, whether it's TNA in like the late 2000s or the British scene in the mid 2010s, it's always the same guy. So
British Brock Lesnar.
But speaking of ECW, you brought up ECW earlier. We got old Steve Corino backstage. He's not here.
Does he not like Homicide? I get the feeling he doesn't like Homicide.
What makes you say that?
Just the fact that the entire time he talked about how he doesn't like Homicide, and also he got fired or he's not with ROH anymore.
Who, Steve?
Yeah.
He's with, I don't know. I think he's been spending more time in Japan. Can you get your asshole off? Like, what are we doing?
I'm sorry. All right. For audio listeners, I can't help it. All right. We start talking about Steve Corino and I just pull my pants down and present.
Yeah. He has to express his anal glands because
God
he loves
damn
it so much. Well, speaking of assholes, Steve Corino, he's talking about, the last year of Ring of Honor because it's a second anniversary show. And the past year, Steve Corino and Homicide, they've had a bloody rivalry. They've had barbed wire matches. They've stabbed each other in the eyes with forks. Steve lost hearing in one of his ears from a slap from Homicide. There was a riot. So Steve Corino essentially is like, fuck Ring of Honor. I don't care about these burying the pure wrestling titles. Yeah, good job, Ring of Honor. A new title. Who cares? Hopefully CM Punk wins it, though, because him and CM Punk are butt buddies of the same ilk.
Like that Steve Corino guy.
Yeah, I figured you would. But I don't know. I think him and Punk eventually have a feud, but I don't know.
Well, everyone gets jealous of CM Punk at some point. Sometimes to the
happen.
point that you kick him out of a company.
Sometimes. Oftentimes that does happen.
Every company he's ever been in. They're just too jealous and they make him leave.
Is that why? Because they're too jealous?
That is. Like, CM Punk becomes the most popular thing everywhere, and then everyone's like, you know what? Fuck you, get out. You're stealing all the spotlight. WWE did it, and then Ring of Honor did it, and then AEW did it. Now he's like, listen, I get it, guys. I need to humble myself. I can't be as amazing as I am, so I'm going to tone it down coming back to WWE. I'm not going to be the show stealer. There's a lot of great talent here. I'm going to help build other people up for once instead of just being the greatest thing on your show, AEW, that you got rid of.
He's going to make sure he gets injured in every single match that he's in so that he can't.
Exactly. It's purposeful.
This guy.
He's keeping himself grounded.
Best in the world. Well, speaking of best in the world, we got Matt Striker with a Y in the next semifinal match for the Pure title. Matt Striker against AJ Styles. AJ immediately goes for the unibrow, which I thought was a very good strategy. You know, hits a snapmare and then just like rakes the unibrow, tries to rip it off perhaps to see maybe if it's a fake unibrow, but it appears that it's real. So
it's real. It
is real. And then if we remember, AJ's knee was fucked up in his first match. So Striker aggressively attacks the leg. It's kind of a slower, more methodical, just let me grind on this leg for a little bit. Even locks in the unibrow lock. Is that what it's called?
Yes,
the unibrow lock. But AJ is able to get to the ropes. And it's this match was fine. I do think AJ kind of chose to sell the leg when he wanted to and then didn't at other times, but because he'd be barely able to walk and he's like, oh, Enziguri, Pele kick, springboard, but then it's whatever. And then he wins with the 450.
So wait, what is his finisher, the lock, Matt Striker's submission actually called?
The Striker lock. It's very unique.
Yeah, unibrow lock's way better. We're just gonna go unibrow lock.
Sure.
I don't know what you know about adrenaline, Kyle, but
tell me.
Boosts of adrenaline can help you push past the pain. Yes, adrenaline in your holes can help you push past the pain. So that way, when it may look like you're not selling the knee, but really it's just that high of adrenaline pushes you past the pain to where you just don't feel it for bursts, which is why it might seem like sometimes you are selling and sometimes you aren't.
Seems like he has an endless supply of adrenaline, this AJ Styles, which is
does. That's why he's still going today.
It's a secret weapon, huh?
Yes,
I like it.
Adrenaline in his holes. And something Cody Rhodes.
Well, AJ loads up all the adrenaline he can. You know, towards the end, we got some roll-ups, some counters, some near falls, but AJ eventually wins with the springboard 450 splash. So still hasn't used the Styles Clash, which leads me to believe, at least I was thinking at this point, was like, oh, he's going to win with the Clash in the main event, which we'll get to that, but that kind of made for a fun little moment there. But AJ wins, Matt Striker does not win, which leads us to, it sets up the finals, AJ Styles versus CM Punk, which are two of the biggest names, I would say, in Ring of Honor at this point. I did... watching this, I thought maybe they'd go the route of giving the title to a lesser known guy to establish him. But I mean, CM Punk, AJ Styles, that's a pretty good to set the tone for the title, I guess. You could do a lot worse. So
I was hyped when I found out that was the main event.
Yeah.
Again, every match that I've watched going into it, I knew 50% at the beginning of the tournament. I knew 50% of everyone in the match. Even the country whipping match, I had heard you talk about Special K and stuff, but I knew Just Incredible, and I feel like Just Incredible made up for 50% of the rest of the guys that I didn't know. So
right,
because he shows up for all of his shows and he sends everyone the books that he promises them that they paid for.
So I have to go to the show
from what I hear.
I see.
And get it from him personally.
This is on me. It's on me. Yeah.
So no, I was like, AJ Styles versus CM Punk main event. That's fucking awesome. As someone who knows who both those guys are and really enjoys their work.
Mm-hmm. Well, CM Punk after this backstage, he says a lot of shit. I didn't really note a lot of it, but there was one point where he's like, after I win the title, I'm going to have a Pepsi in one hand and Tracy Brooks on the other, which seems like a life to live, I guess, right?
Dude, 2004, I couldn't ask for more than a Pepsi and Tracy Brooks, one in each hand. And I'm pretty sure Tracy Brooks and CM Punk were actually together at this point. I know he's dated a lot of women wrestlers, and Tracy Brooks was on that list of the slew of women in professional wrestling that he had relations with.
Yeah. What do you think of schoolgirls?
At 37, it's fucking weird now. Like,
yeah.
When I was in my early 20s, late teens, I got it because you just got out of school, right? You think of people around your age dressed in clothes that you wish you could see them in school. Like the slutty schoolgirl thing worked. At 37, it makes me feel creepy just watching people in schoolgirl outfits. Even if I know they're in their 20s, mid to late 20s, just like that whole fantasy is weird now at my age, even though you said I'm 10 years older, 30 years older than you, whatever the fuck you said earlier.
Right, something like that.
If I'm 37, that makes you 7, motherfucker.
It's all coming out now. I'm an early bloomer, you know? But yeah, the pigtails, the skirt, it's just like cringe. Like looking at it, like I guess 2004 people liked it, but Tracy Brooks, I mean, it doesn't do a lot for me. It makes me mad watching it. I don't know why.
It's also weird because his real name is Phil Brooks and she's Tracy Brooks. So like,
oh, is that her real name? Tracy Brooks?
Yes. I don't know if it's her real name, but his real name is Phil Brooks.
That is actually very funny. Yeah, it seems like it's her real name. No, Tracy Brookshaw.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, Canadian. Oh, married Kazarian. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Isn't
they're
that
together
fun?
now. Yep. That's the thing.
Man, is that a downgrade or an upgrade, do you think? Punked up because to Kaz.
Well, I mean, that's hard to say. Kazarian, even though I didn't love his run in AEW as the elite hunter.
Yeah.
He was huge in TNA. She was a big deal in TNA. Like they had that whole bonding thing. But you also look at CM Punk and AJ Lee, and it's like, did CM Punk upgrade or did Tracy Brooks downgrade? I don't know. I don't know which one went where.
Yeah. Yeah. The elite hunter. I forgot all about that. The worst hunter of all time.
You're welcome.
I hate it.
He didn't even set a single fucking trap.
You would have taught him how to really capture these boys, right?
I watched some stuff in WCW that you're still a ways away from. If you want to learn how to set a trap, talk to Chavo Guerrero.
Okay. And not who tried the trap? Was it Stone Cold try to capture the NWO in a net?
No, Stone Cold was fantastic. He rigged. I love that segment where he just rigged all the traps, and I think it was.
Oh, that's right. It was like DX. A whole thing throughout the entire show. It was like various
it was
traps.
DX. He was capturing DX, which ended with him dropping like a steel girder on the DX Express.
Right. Well, he also did it to the NWO in 2002.
Because he's a real hunter. Yeah.
Oh. Well, he does wear the camo. So he does seem he knows what he's doing, whereas Kaz is just a bullshitter. So,
but he got Tracy Brooks. So, I mean,
take her or leave her, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Well, we got the tag team titles on the line here. We got the champions, the Briscoes, taking on the Backseat Boys, Johnny Cashmere and Trent Acid. Yes, they're a real tag team name, the Backseat Boys. This it felt very quick. This is like a 5-minute match. I was expecting more from this. But it
was my first Briscoes match though. So like as a tag team, the first time I saw them have a tag team match. So this is the first time I've seen the Briscoes work as a tag team.
I mean, they came out of this looking strong, I guess, but they've definitely had better matches. I mean, the Backseat Boys are great too, but this felt just like a very like, let's just do all of our shit real quick and get out of here kind of thing. But I mean, the Briscoes just throwing out casual like springboard, pendulum, backbreaker, stomp, double team moves. They're moving around there really well. I mean, that was like kind of a home. I mean, the Briscoes are like the MVPs of Ring of Honor at this point, I would say. The matches they've had with like AJ and Amazing Red, and I mean the matches they would go on to have are just incredible. But Mark hits a crazy, like leaping tornado DDT from the top rope onto one of the backseat boys on the apron. I think maybe through a table ringside. I didn't really catch it. But this was like a sprint right out of the gate. Everybody's throwing out big boots, and the backseats go for their T gimmick, which is their special, their finisher. But they counter, the Briscoes do, and they hit a springboard spike J driller for the win. So the Briscoes win, retain the titles, even without Jim Cornette there, surprisingly.
Yep.
So, yeah. What'd you think about this?
Like you said, it was a sprint. It was fun. I just enjoyed the fact that I got to post everything that's gone on with the Briscoes and us losing one, see them work as a tag team, because I've only ever seen them do their promos on like FTR and shit, right?
Yeah.
I had not actually watched a Briscoes tag team match. So this is like, okay, now I know kind of where the hype, because ROH is Briscoes.
Yeah.
I feel like from here on out, like that's their tag team division, the champions, everything that's ROH is Briscoes. And obviously Danielson and Punk and other stuff, KO and Sammy, but like they are a mainstay up until the end of ROH for the most part. So like it was cool to see that here and get a taste of it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all in the pic. They're always in the picture, and they're kind of, like I said, Joe and Jay Briscoe are going to have a cage match at the next show. So there's been kind of a feud there with Joe. So, but we didn't really get much of that on this show, but it was cool to see them just get a win here, I guess. Well, we got Spanky backstage after this, which I guess this is after his first WWE run. Because Brian Kendrick, Spanky, otherwise known, he was a big part of like the first year of Ring of Honor. Like he was in the first ever world title match. He had a bunch of major feuds in the first year of Ring of Honor, but then he left for WWE, had a decent amount of success. I mean, doing whatever he was doing on SmackDown, streaking, whatever the fuck. He had like a little John Cena feud at one point, I think. But he's back here, and he's like, they say that you can never go back home, which is not a saying that I've ever heard. But I'll take his word for it. But he's like, oh, maybe you can go back. So he's basically like teasing that he's coming back to Ring of Honor. And it's interesting to see Brian Kendrick here, I guess. But after that, so we got a 4-way. You're going to fuck off. 4-way for the Ring of Honor title. We got Samoa Joe, Joey Samoa, defending against Low Key, against BJ Whitmore, and against Danny Moff. This was I thought this was some pretty good stuff. I don't know. What did you think of this match?
11. So I'm counting. I think there are 12 matches on this card, which makes me think that this is where Tony Khan learned how to book a show.
A lot of matches.
So is Allison Danger dating anyone in the Prophecy? Because I feel like she looked like she was with BJ Whitmore, but also she should be out there for Dan Moff.
Not that I'm aware of. She might be though.
Okay. Maybe Christopher Daniels, since he's a leader, you think you want to go for like the top dog, not anyway. I love Samoa Joe. This is about the time, roughly 2004, when I started seeing clips of Low-Key and Amazing Red, who you mentioned earlier, just like generally making their rounds around the internet. And I'm like, oh, these guys are fucking cool. Like this is something that I don't see in my regular wrestling, the way that these guys do things. So like seeing Low-Key in this match and Samoa Joe, the idea of Samoa Joe and Low-Key in and of themselves locking up was, yeah. So that was cool. It's a 4-way. It felt weird because like, what was it? Kind of like a tag match.
Yeah. So the dynamic here, because BJ Whitmore and Dan Moff are both Prophecy members. So this kind of felt like a tag match in some ways, like it's a 4-way, but they were tagging in and out, I guess.
Yeah.
I won't even get into that, but Samoa Joe and Low Key don't like each other either. So it's like the fact that they couldn't get along allowed the Prophecy to kind of use their numbers to kind of take advantage and to pick the bones in a lot of this match, which I enjoyed that dynamic of it. it's like Joe and Low Key were trying to just fuck each other up, but then BJ and Dan Moff kept interrupting.
A lot of sexual tension between Joe and Low Key.
I was going to ask you, is there such a thing as an I fuck orgy?
Are you talking about the double submission I fuck orgy thing that happened where like Low Key had one of the two and then Joe had the other, and they just kept staring each other directly in the eyes as they were choking the other dude out?
Well, I think that's just one-on-one I fuck. But in the beginning, so when everybody's coming out for the match, Dan Moff comes out and him and Low Key I fuck each other because Low Key knocked Dan Moff out in a previous match that they had. So they don't like each other. And then Joe comes out and then Low Key and Joe I fuck each other because they had a match. It was like one of Joe's first Ring of Honor matches, which is like a notorious match because it was like one of the stiffest matches that's ever happened. Like they're just like what you saw in this match. It was that, but even more. Okay. And then BJ and Dan Moff, even though they're in the same faction, they don't like each other, but they're just
I was going to ask. I got that feeling from the cleavage promo earlier.
A lot of sexual tension. Yeah, you're able to look up from the cleave and see what was going on with the guys. So just a lot of eye fucking, which, little I fuck orgy to start this thing off. It really kind of sets the tone for what this match would be. And it's a 4-way. I mean, it breaks down eventually. Like you said, it kind of works as a tag match at a lot of points, but then it breaks down. Samoa Joe cuts his hand open. I didn't catch where he cut his hand. I
didn't catch where he cut his hand. I just caught Dan Moff trying to eat his cut hand.
Dude, there's one camera shot where you could just see the blood dripping out of his hand. It was fucking disgusting.
And Moff put that in his mouth.
AIDS wasn't invented at this point, I don't think.
It was. It came out in the 80s. It was in the 80s.
Yeah, you're right. Eazy-E. I forgot.
It was real. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess Dan Moff didn't care.
He was going to get hepatitis Joe.
Hepatitis J up in this bitch.
Yeah.
What's up with the referee just whipping out duct tape? I guess that's the only option, right? Because he was trying to wrap Joe's hand and he's like biting the tape off. The ref's kind of doing it too.
No bullshit. I was working a job. And during that job, we were outside. It was in the rain. We were at a remote location. I cut my hand from here to here.
Yikes.
And we didn't have anything. And like I said, it was raining. It was the day before a holiday. I wasn't trying to go. So I went to the truck and I grabbed all we had, which was duct tape. And I wrapped my fucking hand in duct tape. And I kept my hand duct taped and went and finished the job until I could get back to the shop to like wash it and clean it and dress it properly. So I watched him and I'm like, I get the logic. You use what the fuck you have because you got to keep going. And if all you have is duct tape, you do it. So I have serviced a wound on my hand that bled about as much as Joe's with duct tape, and it works.
I mean, you're all about servicing gash, which is what your moniker is. The gash servicer.
I wonder if I can make that one of my nicknames now that, because you can't give yourself a nickname, but now that you said it, I feel like I can call myself the gash servicer because Kyle said I was.
I want you to use that on one of your shows. Just provide no context. Don't tell anybody why. You're just the gash. Just make it your little nameplate or whatever. The gash servicer. I am the patron saint of
podcasting, the Warden Matt Ritter, the gash servicer.
Yes, that is you. That is you. What else happens here? Oh, dude, there's one point where Low Key goes for this, like it's like a springboard into the corner, and he usually ends with a kick. But Joe gets out of the way of the kick. Low Key lands on the second ropes, and Joe just bitch slaps the shit out of Low Key, like disrespectful. And then Key and Joe just go to town on each other, probably legit pissed, maybe. I don't know. At least in my head canon, he is. And I mean, that was the highlight of this match for me, was the interactions with Low Key, Samoa Joe, just the forearms, the slaps, the kicks. It just warmed my cockles, got everything nice and turgid and warm and full of blood, ready to unload. So
I love your use of vocabulary.
Thank you. Thank you. It's one of my many talents. But yeah, and then the prophecy, like I said, the prophecy comes in to kind of just blue ball you a little bit, but you do get a good amount of the Key and Joe stuff. Ultimately, and like you said, the part where Joe has a choke on BJ, Key has a dragon sleeper on Dan Moff, and then they look at each other, they fornicate with their eyes. They both let go at the same time, and they both keep going at it.
Listen, the best time to finish is together while staring in each other's eyes.
Oh.
Whether it's a submission or I don't know how I didn't think about this because you said it's one of your many talents, and as soon as you said that, my first thought went to your amazing thighs. I should be trying the CM Punk Doug Williams thing with you, not my wife, because you have the thighs for it.
Oh. Okay, so are you Punk or Doug Williams in this scenario?
I'll let you choose who you want to be. I mean, you have the thighs to really grip and hold on to me, so I feel like you should be Doug Williams, but I'm willing to, maybe the leg strength is there that you can hold me up. So
I think it's just one of those things where we're just going to have to, whenever we meet, it'll just, whatever the feeling is, somebody will jump. Does your daughter have thoughts on this?
We can go from that into like a Cesaro swing, and you can just hold me by the hips and spin me around.
That's the visual. That's the visual we all needed. But yeah, eventually, I think Dan Moff spears low key out of the ring, and then Joe locks in his coquina clutch choke in like a camel clutch position.
Joe wins by choking out a BJ.
I mean, what more can you say, really? Wouldn't it be funny? We just ended the podcast there.
Fuck the main event. Joe wins by choking out a BJ. Show goes off air.
Choking on a BJ. Well, Joe retains, so that's all fun. A really fun match. I mean, for what it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
But that leads us to the main event. Pure
Are you
rules.
Sure it's main event? Because I've heard that the main event doesn't have to be the last match on the card. The main event could just be any match anywhere on the card.
Main event's kind of a thoughts. It's kind of a mindset. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Justin Credible, Aldo Montoya went out there with his strap and it was like, this is the main event right here. So,
okay,
it really is.
Country whipping match main event.
Well, there's no whipping. There's country because AJ Styles, but there's no whipping. I don't think. We'll see. But this is pure rules, and it's to crown the inaugural Pure Wrestling champion, CM Punk versus AJ Styles. Why you booing there, Matthew?
Because CM Punk should have been the inaugural Pure champion, and he wasn't.
You think so? CM Punk with his basketball shorts, his greasy hair, his jacket. You thought
straight edge.
Damn, you know what? I forgot. I already forgot.
Purest of the pure.
That's God. Well, we don't get that here, unfortunately. But the journey to crowning the first pure champion, AJ Styles, was fun. Look, so it's pure rules. Like I said, 3 rope breaks. Once you use them, you can't use anymore. 20 count on the outside, and then no closed fists. So they like right out the gate, they're like trying to put over those rules. Like they collar and elbow tie up. Like they roll out of the ring while still in the tie up, and then the count gets to like 16 or 17, and they both sprint back into the ring.
It's such a long time.
It's a lot. It's the art of grappling, you know?
Yeah.
But my takeaway here is that I think the ref kind of fucked over CM Punk in this match.
I agree.
Because there's a point where, AJ has Punk in like a wrist lock, and then Punk does the deal where he grabs the top rope and flips out of it. But the ref deems that a rope break. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not a rope break.
It's not
CM Punk should have won.
He exhausts one of his 3 rope breaks right out the gate on accident, which I think is bullshit because he could have, but it's the whole thing. And we'll actually get to that because the rope break actually comes into play in the finish. But both these guys really exhaust all their rope breaks within the first couple minutes. STFs. Like
unfairly exhaust one of the rope breaks.
We get like AJ locks in like a tarantula type of move in the ropes, but the ref says that is Punk's rope break that he's using, even though AJ's putting in an illegal move, which was also bullshit.
Yeah.
So
the fix is fucking in, Kyle.
It's a conspiracy. Really is bullshit. But
if only there was a society of straight edge people that could be here to take care of him, because Tracy Brooks was not that for him.
We need Festus to come in here and kind of just lay the law, ring that bell, and then it's over for everybody. But yeah, I do like, because you brought it up before, you can feel like the that each guy's been in 2 matches already thus far. You could feel the kind of grueling nature of this match. It's a little more like, not slow, but at least in the beginning, it's like everybody's like, you could tell they're like 1 move away from losing, seemingly. I say that, but AJ hits this big discus clothesline, but only for a 2 count. CM Punk hits the Shining Wizard, which this is before the GTS, so the Shining Wizard was kind of his finish at this point. But that only gets a 2 count. Well, the Pepsi plunge is like his super finisher, so that's like he doesn't use it every match, but like when he hits it, it's fucking over.
Okay.
But he does, well, before he goes for the Pepsi plunge, Punk goes for another Shining Wizard, but AJ catches him into a Styles Clash, which I was like, oh, that's the finish for sure. Because like he hadn't used a Styles Clash at all in his prior 2 matches. So it's like, oh, he's been saving it up, hits it, but only for a 2 count, which the crowd was in on that. Like I thought that was going to be the finish. But then Punk fights back, hits a hammerlock DDT for a 2 count, and then Punk has to pull it out, goes for the Pepsi plunge, which for anyone unfamiliar, it's a top rope pedigree, but AJ fights out of it.
Coolest fucking thing ever.
Hits a Pele on Punk from the floor to the top rope, and then hits a Styles Clash off the second rope, turns him over. Punk has his foot on the rope, but he's already used, allegedly, his 3 rope breaks.
No, he has not.
The ref thought so. Punk is not happy about this, but his foot's on the rope. Doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles gets the win. Your first ever Pure Wrestling champion. And
in all honesty, bullshit aside, CM Punk gimmick bullshit aside, this was a really fun match. Like you said, that first Styles Clash, I was like, oh shit. Because again, I noticed that I hadn't seen him use it. You actually taught me something. I didn't realize that CM Punk used the Shining Wizard as like an everyday finisher.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't have that connection. I'm just like, oh yeah, he does a Shining Wizard. That's cool. I like that move. But yeah, no, it was a really good, fun match. Well paced, well done. 2 of the best. Maybe not at this point, but will be 2 of the best. In a short period of time, going at it, and I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the physical primes of both these guys. I mean, still, even very early on in both of their careers, still amazing. Probably the best indie workers at this point. And I mean, AJ at this point, he's already been like the NWA champion in TNA. He's already fucking faced off against like Lex Luger and shit. Like he's already a big deal over there. And then CM Punk is like the notorious. Everybody knows him. What else was it? Yeah, so AJ Styles wins, and then the crowd fills with people to congratulate him. But then Samoa Joe comes out, the Ring of Honor World Champion, and he's like, "Listen, son, that belt means nothing because the only reason that you're champion is because I'm the world champion." And AJ's like, "Hey, listen here, fella. This title means everything to me. One day I'm gonna win your title," or something along those lines. Audio was kind of sketchy here. I didn't really hear what they were saying, but
I did, and what I heard was, "Hey AJ, how's Wendy?"
Is that what they said? I didn't hear that. I didn't catch that.
That's what Joe said.
Oh, interesting. How's my girl Wendy doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a savage. These guys would really fight forever. But yeah. Oh no, that's what's so. I took a look at the card after this, and there's going to be a rematch for the Pure title: CM Punk versus AJ Styles, with a special guest referee, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So maybe Punk will get his comeuppance on that one. But
I mean, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was also a special guest referee for Punk in AEW. Look at that.
It all comes around.
And for all you Punk deniers, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is the most pure, outside of maybe Rey Mysterio, the most pure babyface in all of wrestling. And if he's a Punk guy, how can you not be?
Well, is he a Punk guy, though?
He is. He is a Punk guy.
Okay. Well, we'll see. But yeah, so and then we got some bullshit at the end. Cole Cabana's here. He's doing shit. And then there's more flashbacks, which, whatever. Did you happen to watch the flashbacks at the end?
I did not. I told you. I saw Colt Cabana and Ace Steel
right.
in
That's
shitty
right.
suits, and I shut the show off. I was like, I cannot do this. Don't get me wrong. I've watched Colt Cabana. I'm familiar with Colt Cabana, not just in AEW. For
Scotty Goldman.
Scotty Goldman. No, I'm trying to think of the show, and the name is eluding me. But I did a show where I watched a Colt Cabana New Japan match, which was basically a comedy match. Outside of his bullshit with CM Punk, because again, you can't. It's hard to take sides in a situation, like really truly take sides in a situation where you don't know either person. You're not really into it. Like everyone does, but you can't fairly. Colt Cabana doesn't do it for me. Like it's not. He's not my thing. He is from Chicago. I'd love to support everyone from Chicago. I try to, but for what I enjoy in wrestling, Colt Cabana just doesn't hit the mark for me as a comedy wrestler or as a wrestler. So like when I see him doing this stupid kitschy shit, I'm just like, eh. And if Ace Steel's not biting a Young Buck or Kenny Omega, why the fuck do I want to watch him?
Yeah, I will say this is a good period for Colt Cabana. Not necessarily the backstage stuff, but like his comedy in ring is pretty entertaining. But we're still in a period here where he's like a semi-serious wrestler, and I think he's pretty underrated, especially at this point. So, but unfortunately, he is injured, so he wasn't wrestling here. But so if you ever want to watch more Ring of Honor and more Colt Cabana, this would be a good era to do that. But I don't see that happening.
No.
But that wraps up the second anniversary of Ring of Honor. Any other thoughts on this show that you watched?
No, I mean, like, I'm glad that we watched this. I got to see some shit that I probably would have never seen if it wasn't for you doing this show and getting to go back and see some people that I'm very familiar with in a stage in their career that I have never experienced. It was cool to see my first ever Briscoes tag team match, like as a team. I've seen Briscoes on AEW. I've seen Briscoes on AEW after everything that happened with Jay, but I never got to watch them work as a team. I got to see, outside of clips and video packages, 3 CM Punk matches in a night against 3 different opponents, 3 very different matches as well. A young AJ Styles, outside of what I've seen in TNA, and Samoa Joe, who I love. There was a lot of good here. I got the DeVito's daughter stuff, which gave me my sports entertainment fill. So, I enjoyed this. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the first 2 years of Ring of Honor, it's very hit and miss. This is probably one of the better shows from Ring of Honor thus far that I've watched. But yeah, we got another title on our hands here. We got abductions. We got blood eaters, blood drinkers. So we're on.
How far are you from Nashville, Tennessee?
Probably like 9 hours away.
That's a little, because I want to show my appreciation in the form of the CM Punk Doug Williams spot, and I'm going to be in Nashville for WrestleMania. So I was like, I could just drive up, but 9 hours is a long drive to do the Cesaro swing with your legs wrapped around my hips.
Right. Well, we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll meet halfway. We'll meet in fucking, I don't know, Roanoke, Virginia or something, and we'll swing each other around.
No one will ever see us again.
And then we'll just journey off into the sunset together. But speaking of smacking each other until we're raw, speaking of getting off, speaking of ridding each other of our straightness, Smackin It Raw. Where can everybody find you? Thank you for once again coming on, talking some wrestling with your boy. Where can everybody find you, listen, taste, and grab you until you secrete fluid out of your belly button?
The easiest place for you guys to experience everything that is the Gash servicer Matt Ritter is it's Creation World on all social medias and creationworld.com. If you're looking specifically for me, you can follow me at Matt Ritter, at MATTRDDER, on Twitter for your wrestling content, at Getting Off for your horror content. We've recently, just like as of the night before we recorded this, revamped the Getting Off show. We did a spit or swallow version like we do over on Smackin It Raw for the entire Resident Evil franchise. So if you are a fan or not so much a fan, of that because we shit on a lot of those movies. Come check that out and enjoy it. And you can catch me every Friday live for the Creation Conversation with Travis and Mara, talking all that nerdish, whether it's video games, TV, whatever's on the plate. We're there. So come check us out there. Twitch.tv/CreationWorld, YouTube.com/CreationWorld.
Hell yeah. And then they'll find your OnlyFans there where more butthole pictures.
I'm not launching it until you have your thighs wrapped around me. I have stuff in the bank ready to go.
Right.
But the first post has to be me servicing your gash.
Once again, thank you to Matt for joining me on this episode. Always a good time with my boy, Pretty Ritty. Go check him out. Go check out Creation World, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, on Twitch. I shouldn't be banging my desk as I'm doing this. This is not good for the audio, but it's great for emphasis. Go check them out. Yeah. I forgot where I was. Where am I? It's a very rainy day. It's making me a sleepy boy. Just want to take a nap right here. What you doing this? I hated that. I hated whatever that was I just did. I think we're about done here. Follow me, subscribe, follow, poke, tickle, kiss. Do all those things to me. And you, most importantly, have a swell old day. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love ya. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support. Mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Mwah. I'm hard.
Yeah. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.